Today I'm going to show you the simplest, fastest, most waterproof, durable product on the market, and it's vinyl. But it's not the vinyl you're thinking about. We're not doing vinyl plank today. Today I'm going to show you sheet vinyl. And the reason for that is this. We've been using it for over 100 years. It's guaranteed waterproof. You can install it with a utility knife. And nowadays they make this vinyl so that it's called loose laid, which means you don't need adhesives underneath the flooring. All you got to do is remove your fixtures and your baseboard, drop it in, and you're done. So we're going to go through the process real quick because there are a few things you need to know to guarantee success. Let's just jump right into this. We're going to get the sink and the toilet out of here. All right, important to note before you get started a project like this where you're dealing with plumbing, you want to turn the water to the house off. If you can't, then at least turn off the shutoff valves, all right? And be ready for anything. Most sinks are installed. They're screwed to a framing. Oy, oy, oy. Not hard to tell the cabinet went in before the plumbing. All right, now that appears to be it for fasteners. What we have here is a very traditional installation where they're relying on gravity and silicone. So we got to release the silicone seal. Hopefully it's just around the sink and not in behind the sink. Yep. There we go. That's simple, guys. Okay. Wow, that was easy. There we go. Okay. Nasty. Okay. Okay, right there. There we go. Here's a great way. Test and see if your water is actually off, if the pressure's out of your system, and if this valve in particular, if you can't turn the water off, is actually functioning properly. Throw in a bunch of paper towel, soak up that water, come back and check in a couple minutes and see if it bubbles over again. As long as that valve stays empty, you know we're in good shape. So far, so good. The next step to putting in a new vinyl floor like this is we want to remove all of our casing and baseboards. We don't want to have to be cutting around everything in the room. It's better to set everything back on top. I have to buy a new baseboard anyway because I extended the bathroom to add the shower. So in this case, we're just going to slide the bar in here and see if we can pull this off without damaging it. Because I wouldn't mind being cheap and reinstalling it later. Yep, and you'll notice everywhere in this house, near the floor, there's little bits of mold growing. That is a consequence of this building being here since 1980 with no air conditioning. I don't know if this one's going to be able to be saved. There's far too much attention. Here we go. Alrighty then. Really important to make sure we cut the caulking and the drywall paper. Like I'm cutting like that because I don't want anything that's still attached to that wallboard like this becoming a problem. And the way that becomes a problem is if I peel this off, if I haven't cut through deep enough, okay, then it'll peel the paper up. And then I'm into repairing and patching and priming all over again. We want to avoid all of that. So now I'm just looking for the nails. It's a great opportunity right now to finish cleaning out the wall. Pull the nails and then we spray prime all this mold. We don't have to cut it out. What we're doing here is eliminating the opportunity for this to continue growing, knowing that now that we got air conditioning in this building, it should stay dry and that'll seal the growth of the mold from ever coming back. I've said this before, but when you're doing demolition or removing things, take the time to finish the prep work for the next stage when you bring it back. You don't want to be coming at the very end of this job and then go, oh, I got to deal with all these nails now. All right. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to be putting in a relief cut in the flooring because we're only changing from the door in. Here we go. We want the transition right in the middle of the space between the door jamb and the edge. Okay, so that's what we're going to cut out. And we can make this more precise later on if we need to, but that's that. Now it's time to lift the rest of this ugliness. We'll start back here. The phenomenal thing about this is we actually have two floors that we're lifting up. So we have vinyl on vinyl. Isn't that lovely, huh? Come on, who doesn't want that in their house? In this situation, I don't know what's going to be easier. Take them both together or one at a time. A lot of staples. Wow. When you're doing a demolition like this, we've got to make a choice. How are we going to bring back the new flooring? Okay, because it'll affect what we do now. Traditionally, we will install a sheet vinyl flooring over what we call Luan, or finished plywood. This is a Luan here. And they nailed it down. So they brought their flooring up and then they stapled it, knowing they'd put a baseboard on. This is OSB, and I installed this as the extension flush with the existing floor. For me, to install this vinyl, I need a nice smooth surface. So I have two options. One, I can come back with another sheet of Luan and I can staple it down and cut it in, but understand that this bathroom is now a little longer than 8 feet and a little wider than 4 feet. So that means 2 sheets of 1/4 inch plywood, good one side. And where I am in the market right now, it's $70 a sheet plus taxes. So it ends up being almost 200 bucks just for the plywood and the staples. That's more money than I want to spend on the entire floor. So my solution is I'm going to tear all this out and I'm going to come back with a little bit of floor leveler to create a nice smooth solid surface that I can lay my floor on. So since I'm using floor leveler, problem solved. Let's keep moving on. Yeah, this isn't going to come up easy, but it will come up. All right. Okay. Well, that took a little bit of work. As you can see, there's a lot of area here that we can't lift. They really use a lot of adhesive in this area. What we're going to do is we're just going to vacuum up, clean this up really good, and then we're going to mix our floor leveler, and we're going to put down our multi-surface bonding primer first. That way everything will stick nice together and we aren't going to get cracking in the leveler over time. The cleaner the floor, the better the bonding primer will work. Now this is just primer. This is a multi-surface bonding primer. This particular one's Eco Prime Grip from Mapei. Most tile suppliers, anybody that carries Mapei product line will have this, okay? And this can go on as thick as you want. It can actually become part of the leveling system if you like. What this stuff does, it also seals up a lot of the holes that the floor leveler would end up going down. So you put it on thick enough, throw a fan on it for an hour, and then this will be dry enough. Put floor leveler on. All right guys, now the primer is dry. I'm gonna run around with my foam. And the goal here is just to seal up areas underneath the drywall where the floor leveler might actually just run right underneath, find a crack and then just run away. This will make sure that the material put on the floor stays on the floor and doesn't end up in the ceiling underneath. Now the foam is almost cured up. Just gonna trim back the excess. And that will keep the floor leveler from going down the gap between the plywood. Piece of cake. So I am using NovaPlan Plus as my floor leveler. Again, it's a Mapei product. This particular product, the whole bag mixes with 5 liters of water, and that is just a little bit more than a gallon of paint. I'm gonna try to go for about a half a bag here, because today, instead of using my big slow mixer, I'm gonna use my regular drill, and we're gonna just put it on drill and attach my big mixing blade and see how well this works, mixing half a bag at a time. Just for the purpose of educating you guys, if I'm comfortable using this with a half bag of product, it might save you the trouble of spending 150 bucks on a slow mixer. So I need about half of what's normal. There we go. Now, I don't think I've got enough product in here for now, but we're gonna just start mixing and see where we end up here. So that's working just fine. I've got it on number 1 speed right now. Still got to control the power because it's probably too much mixing power. I'm going to pour a little more product in here. There, that's better representation. You can see at this point it's acting more like a thin set. It's too thick. It should be fairly runny. You'll see just a little bit of water in here. There we go. That's going to be the consistency that I'm looking for. Now, according to the instructions, we're going to give it 2 minutes to set up. So I'm just going to get a couple tools ready. My goal here is to get a flat surface. It's nice and simple that way. And so I'll use as little product as I can get away with to get that goal done. Here we are. I'm going to be using this V-notch trowel. We're going to just start in the back corner, pour out a little bit. That way I can maintain control over what's going on. Same thing, always work butt facing the door. And we're going to just push it into the corner. Okay, and then pull it back. Push it in. Pull it back. Don't worry about getting it perfect in the corners. Remember, we're going to be adding baseboard. So I'm just going to keep pulling it away until I reach that desired thickness where I know it's going to be smooth when it finishes. That's where the V-notch trowel comes in handy. So this is a self-leveling compound, but you can direct it. So you can actually create little ramps. It's only going to be level if you rake it with a V-notch and then it let all of the grooves to settle in again. We'll give it a couple hours to dry up, throw a fan on it, and then we'll be able to install our floor. So now that the leveler is dry, it's next day. Give it a really good sweep. Make sure the floor is as clean as you can make it. This is all about preparation. And big spiders. Now you'll notice I've taken off the door casings and all the baseboards, and we're ready to set the floor. Really all you do is take it out of the package, and then you roll it up like a scroll to go in through a doorway. But since this side is so close to a wall, we just did single roll, and we're just going to demonstrate how to lay this kind of floor right now. Just to give you an idea, if this doorway opened up to 3 or 4 feet flooring on each side, you could roll it like this, and then you can open it up in both directions. Now the new flooring in the world of sheet vinyl doesn't require glue. We're gonna find our spot. It's about a 1/2 inch too shy for the whole space. All we're gonna do is cut the vinyl and then pull it into position. Yep, it actually is this easy. I'm gonna use a little bit of a vinyl seam sealer. Snip the corners, cut it flush. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna find this corner right here. I'm gonna put my knife into the flooring. Put in a relief cut. Now because there's the wall, I'm actually gonna cut through all of the flooring here, right down the middle. I'm looking for this relief cut right here. Okay. We're gonna come across the shower now and find the other corner. Here's my location for my relief cut. I'm gonna use my finger to make a seam. Okay. Tuck that underneath. It's also gonna get siliconed. We're gonna find our toilet flange here. Just gonna rub around it with the knife. Make a little crease in the flooring. A little identifying mark. Try to cut on the inside of that mark. It's better to cut short and then go long the second time. Okay? Make sure everything is relaxed and in position. Right? Because now we can cut tight to the flange. Press it into the wall. The reason this works so good is because we haven't added the baseboards yet. So we have an incredible amount of mercy available here to us. Right? We come short, doesn't matter. Now, I gotta cut around the plumbing a little bit here. Because this is loose lay, if it's too tight, it'll have a wrinkle. Okay? So we want to make sure that we trim it back close to the edge of these fixtures so that it's not causing a wrinkle in the floor. When we're all said and done in here, we're going to be adding thin bead of silicone to close all this up, which is how it gets waterproof. So now we're just going to reinstall the same casing all over again. When you're nailing, guys, try your best to put the nails in a discreet location like that, okay? If you nail through the surface of something, you gotta patch the living daylights out of it. Anytime you see a wrinkle in your material, it's easy to fill. You can tell the last guy put that one surface proud, right? You can see, that's really easy to see. Okay, done. All right, here we go, guys. Last few steps, throwing on the trim, and then we're gonna caulk, right? When you nail discreet, you can cheat and use the caulking as your nail filler. Now the order from here is really simple. Baseboards, caulking, sand in between the coats because there's only one coat of paint. So we sand the coat, then we come back and we're gonna paint all of the trims. We're gonna install the vanity, sink, the faucet, do all those plumbing connections. And then we're going to take out the silicone when we're all finished. We're gonna seal the vanity to the wall and seal the shower to the floor. Nice and simple. Let's just jump ahead right into installing the vanity because there's a few tricks here I think you're gonna wanna see. And we're gonna make your life easy here. Last time I was at the store, I was looking for my shark bite fittings for the sink because we ran new plumbing and they didn't have what I wanted, which was this, where it comes in and then go straight up. They'd only have the inline. Yeah, they would work, blah, blah, blah. But the point is, they're not gonna work well. And they're gonna take up the whole room with the flexible hoses. I decided to fix that today. Water's supposed to be off. Matt?
Good.
Why is my water line completely pressurized? Can you open up the sink line, please?
Yep.
Is there any water in that?
Yeah.
Is it slowing down?
Yeah, it's down to the brick now.
I'm in a bit of a flooding trouble here. Take this pail outside quickly. I can only hold this line back so long. Let's enjoy this moment, because this is funny. Oh. I'm trying to figure out why there's so much water still coming out. Can you shut off the hot water tank, please? That must be what it is. If the hot water tank supply line isn't shut off, then the whole tank, since it's gravity fed and it's higher than this, will empty out through this line. Even though this is cold water line, it's going to back up to the system. Here we go. It's still rolling, but it doesn't mean I can't install my shark bite. All right, here we go. So let's get something to hold on to here. Twist and push. And that's done. We're probably gonna have a very similar scenario here, aren't we? Yeah, no, that's fine. Just gotta have a little something here because there's nothing in the wall to keep this line from pushing all the way in. I won't get good contact. Okay, well, as you can see, I made a bit of a mistake when I was doing the plumbing. Lucky for me, this flooring is 100% waterproof 100% of the time. You never have to worry about your install because there are no joints. Okay, there we go. Well, we've been having problems with the power today, so threw this on just in case because it's really dark outside. We're getting thunderstorms. You can see the wall is not level. There's one way to beat that. Yeah, they got these little plastic. We'll get rid of the ones on the back. The reason they have little plastic feet is because it's a cabinet made out of particle board, which is not the strongest substance in the world, but it is a great value. So now I'm flat against the wall. One word of warning, because now the back corner is on the floor. When it comes time to put all your silicone and everything on, you want to grab some clear silicone and just throw a bead there, right across the side and then onto the baseboard, just in case you get any water on the floor. You don't want to be wicking up into the cabinet. I got this faucet for no reason other than the fact that it was the cheapest thing on the shelf. So of course that means it doesn't come with the extensions. I also had to measure off the vanity. It comes with its own top. And believe it or not, there are 3 standard sizes for holes. This is what we call the 4-inch offset. You see how that works? That's a 4-inch offset. You can also get a single hole faucet, but then you have to have that ugly decorative plate because it's pre-drilled. Another option is an 8-inch, 2 holes with an 8-inch offset. 2 individual handles with hoses that go a connection piece in the back. They're generally 2 to 3 times more expensive, and they're really only found on really old sinks. So the 4-inch is the most popular. If you're getting a brand new solid surface countertop, then you can always just get the option for the single hole. But when you're buying cabinets with prefab counters, they almost always come with a 4-inch offset. Not always though, so make sure you pay attention to that. You're gonna wanna know exactly the end from the beginning, right? Before you go and buy your faucet, or you buy the wrong one. Here we go. Okay, now, to make life easy, take your hose risers. Now when you go to the store, there's 2 kinds of risers. There's faucet risers and toilet riser. They both have the same 3/8 connection at one end, but they have a different connection at this end. So faucet risers are designed with a gasket for this. Toilet risers have a much bigger end on it and are designed to go on the bottom side of a toilet, and they just thread right on. They come with gaskets already installed, so you can go finger tight. Once you've gone finger tight, you know the gasket's made contact, give it a couple of quarter turns. Nothing too major. You're not reefing on this with all your strength. This is not a brass on brass fitting. Boom, you're letting the gasket do all the work. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna drop this in place. Now you see everything's a little jiggly, but I'm gonna put a little bit of clear silicone on that wall and set this counter right into it. Here we go. Now this doesn't have to be perfect. It's not gonna be visible. It doesn't even have to be clear. I like clear in case it squeezes out. Now this particular counter is designed to go flush plus maybe 1/8 of an inch on each side. All right, guys, we're using the same fan and the same grill, but they get old and start turning yellow. So here's a great product, Ben Shellac. It's a white shellac-based paint, not oil. It's the next level up. This is a stain seal to the max. So I don't care why that changed color. Okay, we're just gonna give it a coat of this. We're gonna use a leftover cardboard box from the vanity. We'll try to come at it from a couple of different angles. Boom, okay? Let that dry. We can stick that on tomorrow. Perfect every time. So we got all of our trims installed, everything's caulked, and now we're ready to just hit the walls one more time for a second coat of sanding in between paint coats, right? Remember, there's no sense painting the room until you get your vanity in. All right, here we go. And then you guessed it, the final coat of paint. Here it comes. Now, you know, I'm always getting people asking me, oh, what color of paint are you using, Jeff? This particular one is On Point. It's a C2 color, my favorite paint. Don't forget, if you like, you can order this online in the United States and they'll ship it right to your house and you'll get a 20% discount that we arrange for you. All right, cheers. You know, one thing I might mention is don't ever get freaked out if you put paint on the wall and it's not the color you expect. Look how different it is wet versus dry. Some colors go darker or lighter when you apply them. So if you're not sure if the color's right, let it sit around for an hour or so. Wait till it dries out and then you'll know. Here we go. So we're gonna just give everything a second coat now. There we go. Love painting from inside the brush.